Welcome to KIRKS Toolbox webinar. We're talking about the future of stopping power, copper-free brake pads with CF29 friction. We're going to hear about copper-free brake disc pads and achieving maximum performance, the OE Backplate Technology, its steel peel retention system with unmatched pad adhesion and durability, and about North America's largest rotor range. We are going to introduce our panelists today. We have Bob Kirkman. He is the co-president of KIRKS. He's been in the transit parts industry for over 25 years. And Marcus Cornwell from Celerity, actually. He has extensive experience and a distinguished career in the braking industry. Marcus has been specializing in global market strategy, and he successfully managed sales and operations across North America and the Australian Pacific markets. As an integral part of the Celerity team, Marcus has expert knowledge of Celerity's mission and products. I'm Linda Kleist. I'm your webinar host. We have Abby Thompson. She's on technical. So if you have any technical issues, please let us know in the chat. We'll hop right on it. And we want to answer your questions. That's the benefit of joining us live. And you can type them into the chat located in your toolbar, and we'll cover them. Be sure to cover them by the end. So we're going to hand it over to you, Marcus. We're looking forward to learning about the future of stopping power.
Sounds good. Thank you, Linda. Thank you for the nice introduction. As Linda explained, my name is Marcus, and we're going to run through a little bit about our Select product, features, benefits, the reason as to why KIRKS have selected us as their partner, specifically for the transit and motor coach market across North America. So we specialize in air disc brake. We do also supply some drum brake product too, but our specialty really is air disc. So I'll tell you a little bit about the business first, about who we are, then run through braking basics, air disc brake specifically, what sets this Select friction material aside, and the testing and all the quality procedures that we have in place, government compliance for North America, and then and the range finally that we cover within Select. So we're one of the leading suppliers of automotive friction-related components globally. So we supply automotive as well as heavy duty. We also do some race products as well. We're based in the UK, and we have an engineering team in Germany and warehousing there too. Our base in the US is in Michigan, not too far from KIRKS themselves. So the core part of our business is wheel end friction related components, and that is, as I mentioned, for heavy duty as well as automotive. As I mentioned, we supply some race products as well. We have a remanufacturing facility in the UK, which is unfortunately tailored for the European market, where we remanufacture calipers and brake shoes. And then some of you may be familiar with the PSI tire inflation system for trailers. We're the European agent for that product too. So yeah, quite a few different strings to our bow. So probably preaching to the choir a little bit here, but two different types of brake in the marketplace. Air disc and drum brake. Obviously, historically, the market's been heavily drum, but as we're starting to see now, there's more and more disc brake in the marketplace, especially within specifically safety critical applications for transit and motor coach. So yeah, starting to see a lot more air disc now in North America. We essentially refer to the pad and the rotor as a happily married couple. We wouldn't be alone in advising this as a manufacturer, but any manufacturer would always advise you to use the couple together. So replacing pad at the same time as rotor and using the same manufacturer. Anyone would tell you that Bendix, Meritor. But yeah, always best to use the same pair together. So over the last 12 months, there's been a big change in North America. We've known it's coming for some time, but it is the better braking law, which is essentially the removal of copper from all friction-related components. So it is kind of initiated from California and Washington State, and this is probably 15 plus years ago now. There was a study conducted, and there was found to be an awful lot of copper content within the Bay Area, and the root cause was put down to friction-related components and a byproduct of braking essentially. So we were tasked 10 years ago now to remove copper from our disc pads, along with everyone else in the marketplace, and quite a tough task really because the copper content was the lubrication. So it was a pretty crucial element of disc pads. Now, fortunately, and there was an awful lot of R&D that went into this process, but fortunately, we were one of a handful of manufacturers who's successfully been able to remove the copper content from the friction material and maintain the same performance that we had previously with copper inclusive products. So, Bob, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we've had the copper-free product in range now for probably at least 2 years.
Correct. Yep, we switched everything over about 2 years ago.
Yeah, so well ahead of the curve. KIRKS were well ahead of the curve with introducing this because it only became law in January. You can of course still fit any existing stock that you have of the product. It's just that we can no longer manufacture and sell copper inclusive products in North America. So yeah, it's been a real step in the right direction from an environmental point of view. And as I said, fortunately, after many years of research and development, we've managed to maintain the same level of performance with the copper-free pads that we did with the copper inclusive pads. So the difference that you may notice with the sorry, I just jumped back there. I've gone ahead of myself. Is the three leaf mark that you can see at the bottom of the screen here. And I'll come on to that a little bit more when we talk about the boxing and the labels in a few slides time.
I was really impressed with the better breaking law. At first, I thought, oh, come on, why are you picking on copper? But when I read more and saw really what it was doing and the evidence they had to marine life and soil quality, so congratulations, well done, bravo, thank you, Marcus and Celerity.
No, I can't really take the thanks, Linda. It was engineers far more intelligent than me that managed to solve that problem.
And that's one of the reasons why we switched over too, is, obviously we realize it's not mandatory everywhere yet, but we see it coming. So, and if it's the performance is there, why not, switch over to it? So that was kind of part of our reasoning.
Absolutely, yeah.
That we are hearing reports of certain manufacturers where they have seen a deterioration in performance. But as I said, luckily we're one of a handful, and there are a few of us that have solved the problem, but not everyone has. So one of the key features of the Select product is around the backplate technology. So probably around 15 years ago now. I think it was 14 years ago. It's 2011. We patented this steel peel technology, which is a process whereby during the manufacturing of the backplate, we scratch the backplate to create almost small teeth that you can see here on the zoom in diagram. And then what happens when we pour the friction material onto the backplate, the friction material wraps itself around the teeth, and prevents any delamination of the friction block from the backplate. Um, Essentially the same prevention of if there was any rust jacking with shoes. This is what the steel peel technology is preventing. That we don't lose the friction block from the back plate, which is pretty crucial. So, um, yeah, since we introduced this in 2011, we haven't seen any failure modes with delamination. So, been a really successful introduction. There a couple of the OEs do something very similar. But once again, just reiterating that we are an OE grade product. We're going through all the same practices that the Bendixes and the Meritors of the world would. So from a disc pad set point of view, we essentially mirror whatever is included within the OE kit. So top bars, all the accessories will mirror whatever the OE kit includes. So there shouldn't be any issues there from a fitment point of view.
Marcus, before we go too far ahead, we did have a
Yep.
question come in about the backing plate. Is the thickness the same as the OEM?
Yeah. So what's crucial is as much as the friction material is the thickness of the back plate. So again, with the kit, the same as that we do with the kit, we mirror the OE. So if the OE is 1.8 mil, then our back plate will be exactly the same. It'll be 1.8 millimeters. So yeah, we mirror exactly the OE. So good question. Yeah, and again, just another iteration of how we like to mirror whatever the OEs are doing.
Perfect. Thank you.
So sorry, skip stuff there. So also point to note is that all of the R90 information, which I'll come on to more in a second, will be on the back plate too. We moved to a craft packaging. Again, probably a couple of years ago, I would say, Bob, which adds to our green credentials. So it's a fully recyclable box. We know that there's quite a few businesses now that are targeted to reduce their impact on the environment. So this has been a really easy way for us to do it. Boxes that you would see with a complete covering, so the full lacquer in a certain color, whether it be blue or orange or whatever, they aren't fully recyclable as a box. So yeah, we made this move to, as I said, do what we can for the environment.
And they're as solid as the original boxes. I like them better, actually.
Yeah, yeah, just as durable as those original black boxes that we had, weren't they, Bob? So, one key point to note here, as I mentioned before, I touched on R90. So R90 is essentially it's actually a European piece of legislation that says that or that states that the aftermarket pad has to perform as a minimum within a 15% tolerance of the OE. So FMSI, sorry, FMVSS 121 is very similar in the US, but not quite as rigorous. R90 is down to component level. So because we're selling the same product in Europe as we are in North America, all of our um, all of our disc pads are R90 certified, which again is something that you wouldn't necessarily find in all aftermarket suppliers in North America. Is even the case that some of the OE the OE manufacturers for their aftermarket programs aren't R90 in their product. Yeah, manufacturer mentioned before that have a bull in their logo, maybe one of them. So advantage for us and KIRKS respectively, that essentially we're ensuring that this product performs to within the parameters of the OE. So that's something to look out for on the label there. The other thing to mention and look out for on the label is the copper content leaf mark here. So anything with 3 leaf, this is a universal icon. So anything with 3 leaf is signifying that there isn't any copper in the product. The 2 leaf does still have copper content. So all of the disc pads that KIRKS have now are, as we mentioned, copper-free, so they'll all have the 3 leaf icon.
Okay, well, Marcus, can you go back to that slide? Got another question. Might as well answer it while it comes in instead of waiting for the end. So, a good question, made in China is the question. What kind of quality control does the company have for products made in China?
Yeah, question. So we have an internal management system, internal quality management system called Bremsbook. So while we manufacture, our manufacturing base is in China, Bremsbook essentially ensures that we're managing it remotely. So while we also have a team in China, logistics team, and we've got a couple of engineers there as well, we're manufacturing nearly 3 million sets a year. So there's quite a lot to control. Bremsbook's an online platform that essentially means that the factory at certain points within the production have to send certain images, measurements, and anything that we would require essentially to make sure that the product's fit for purpose right the way through. Now, I'd say that there either isn't anyone doing that, anyone else doing that in the aftermarket, or we're one of very few people. So yeah, while we manufacture the products in China, we've got a very very keen eye on the manufacturing, and yeah, the factories have got to jump through a lot of hoops within the Bremsworth system to actually supply a finished product. So I've got a little bit more in a couple of slides' time on the quality and testing side of things as well.
Thank you.
Problem. So we have 2 grades of friction material, CF29 and CF26. CF26 copper-free rated to £26,000. CF29 is copper-free rated to 29 now. Do need to emphasize that CF29 is what's most applicable, and essentially this formulation is specifically tailored to the transit and motor coach market. So this material essentially services school bus, transit, even refuse. So any application that's under stress and yeah, requires the heavy duty material. That's CF29 is essentially what we would recommend for that application, and as I'm sure Bob will tell you, is that's material grade to go with. So we've tailored that material to that sector of the market. CF26 is more your over the road material.
And that's really the CF29 is what we're stocking in all the testing with different transits across the US. That's what we've been having a very good success rate with, and it's just expanding. And so that's really what we're promoting in the transit that we're finding for the applications, especially on transit buses, the articulateds and things like that, where they're having issues with pad wear.
We have a comment coming in. It says same recommendation for transit buses with very aggressive regenerative braking. Okay, that's a question, not a comment. Our brake pads typically last close to 100,000. Is that miles? Thoughts?
Sorry, Linda, was that would hours
Question.
last up to that?
Yeah.
Would the Select product last to the same length of time. Was that
Yes.
the
Do
question?
you recommend the same CF29 for that? Was the question.
Yeah, I mean it's application dependent, and we probably need to consult a bit more and find out a little bit more about the vehicles and the kind of work that they were doing. But it sounds like CF29 would be the material to go with in that instance. Yes.
So Bob, they can call, talk with an account specialist or product specialist there and get a specific question about an application.
Correct,
Yes.
because we've got a lot of different case studies that we're working with, and especially obviously you're going to get longer brake life with the regen system. Still have the drivers, and it depends on the terrain. So we've got them all across the United States, whether it's in a hilly area or cold. So there's a lot of variations, but again, the CF29 has really been what we're finding real good success for wear.
Okay.
Again, the slides in a couple of slides time will touch on the wear side of things. I'll move on to the CF29 because that's what's most relevant here. So yeah, this links in well with the last question. So we our performance is very, very similar to the OE. I can't tell you who we've benchmarked this against, but I've mentioned them previously. Um, the On the wear side of things, this is probably what's most relevant. So yeah, we're within some pretty fine margins of the OE friction materials performance. Our wear rates are very, very similar. So you shouldn't see too much of a difference between us and the OE in that instance that the customer mentioned there, Linda. Again, I can, Linda, I'm sure you'll have these slides anyway afterwards, so um, we can share this with anybody who'd like it for a point of reference. So thermal load, we're talking about the rotor side of things now. We conduct an ISO 26886 test for thermal load on all of the rotors, and this is by batch as well. So while we're conducting these tests when we introduce a product, every batch is tested to the same level. And that's, yeah, 8 days of continuous testing, 5,000 cycles. So we really put the product through its paces. As I said, this is continuous as well. During the manufacturing process, every single batch has to go through this process. So yeah, we understand that, especially for the motor coach transit market, the product really has to stand up to some pretty tough applications. So yeah, our testing procedures are second to none in the aftermarket. This links in to the Bremsbook side of things that I was mentioning before. So both the friction products and the rotors have got to pass dimensional tests, shear strength on the friction side of things, a hardness test on the rotors, and that's all inputted from the factory side into Bremsbook, and it's the engineers in Germany that sign off every single batch. So I mentioned it earlier on, but we comply with both FMVSS 121 and ECER 90. ECER 90, as I mentioned, kind of supersedes FMVSS 121 anyway. So yeah, all the products is completely compliant.
Okay, wait. You had something on the
Sorry.
last slide, just piqued my curiosity. Uh, it says passing R90 is more difficult than passing 121.
Yeah, so 121's a stopping distance test, which is sort of the overall vehicle specific, whereas the R90 test is on the specific pad, and the tolerance as well. You've got the fact that the aftermarket pad has to work within a 15% tolerance of the OE. So it's a little bit more rigorous essentially.
Okay, thanks.
And all of that's conducted in the UK. So all of our R90 certificates are issued in the UK, but are obviously transferable. So we've got a complete range. We've actually got the second largest number of R90 registrations globally, after a brake manufacturer. So if we don't have it, it's not available yet. It's not to say that we have the full range with KIRKS right now, but of course, if as more and more disc brake products comes into the aftermarket, please reach out to KIRKS, and if there's any products missing from the range, then let us know. We can absolutely introduce it. We will definitely have it available. Probably the most recent one to note, in the last couple of weeks, we've managed to release the Wabco Maxxis Gen 2 pad. So we now have that available in Select. We received quite a few requests over the last couple of months, and yeah, we've managed to successfully develop that now. So we can easily add this to the range. We're already talking to KIRKS about bringing that in, and I don't think that's available yet in the aftermarket in the US. So yeah, that's our most recent edition. But as you can see here, there's quite a breadth of products available for all different kinds of applications. Again, can send you the detail. Probably should have explained this at the start, really, but Bremsen Technic is the holding company that's based in Europe, which Celerity Systems North America is a part of, and Select being one of our brands. So that's why you may see why Bremsen Technic there. But as I mentioned, we've got one of the world's largest braking ranges available, and yeah, ultimately our bag is supplying an aftermarket component that performs to an OE standard. I think that covers it my side. But if anybody does have any more questions, then yeah, feel free to go ahead. Sorry, Linda, I should have handed back to you
No,
there.
no, no, that's perfect. That's perfect. Thank you, Marcus. Good stuff. We do have a couple of questions so far, unless any more come in. Is the rotor wearing more than the OEM?
Um, no is the short answer. And again, it's always application specific, but um, no, we'd see a very similar performance to the OE grade, similar to what you saw with the pad data there. We'd be within a very close tolerance to the OE.
And we've done a lot of testing with a lot of different customers with pad rotor combination, doing the testing together. And, it's met or exceeded what, the transits are getting on with the OE pads and rotor combination.
Okay, I think that was related to an earlier, your graph. It says, did the earlier bar graph show the rotor wearing more than with the OEM pads? So maybe that was, I do remember that now.
Yeah, ever so slightly. I mean, we're going to be within a very close tolerance, so is the bottom line. But yeah, you may see instances where the OE would last slightly longer, but yeah, we'd be about as close as you can be, essentially.
Okay, Mike, that answered your question. If not, you can do a follow-up. I'm gonna get to the next question. Okay, would the CF29 friction pad be applicable for use with an articulate bus? Did I say that right?
Articulated bus. Yeah.
Articulated bus.
And that's where we found good success because on the, the larger bus application, I think that's where this pad is really going to stand out for us in the marketplace. So, yes, definitely.
Perfect. Okay, well, that ends our Q&A. And we want to remind you that if you have more questions or any come up, we have product specialists at KIRKS that are happy to walk through your specific applications and answer your questions and help you navigate the parts landscape. All right, Mr. Kirkman?
Thank you very much, Marcus. We appreciate you taking the time to educate our customer base, and Linda for doing a great job setting it up.
Yes,
No
thank
problem.
you. Okay,
Thanks,
so
thanks for having us.
and we are going to email this recording to anybody who registered. And if you're not getting our newsletter, the KIRKS monthly newsletter, we're going to have that up on the screen. Marcus, if you can go to the next screen, skip over that one. There'll be a QR code on the screen. You're going to want to pull out your phone, and there's a sign up to get the KIRKS monthly news. So we're always doing product updates. If there's anything you need to know that's specific to your industry, that's where you're going to get it. And we want to, again, thank all of our guests for joining us at the webinar. We want to keep you moving, navigate the parts landscape, because KIRKS is your partner for parts. Thanks for joining us.